Hey everyone, welcome to Tangled Threads. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's go. Growing up in a small town, you learn a thing or two about cars. You might not become a full-blown mechanic, but you at least get to know your way around an engine. Turns out this car knowledge would be put to the test in ways I'd never imagined. The day began like any other, my wife Sarah heading out to run errands in the town over. I spent the morning fixing a leaky faucet and handling some yard work. Hours passed and the house was unusually quiet, but I didn't think much of it. Around 3 p.m., I received a call from Sarah. The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, Sarah's personalized ringtone filling the silence. I answered the call, curiosity piquing as I noticed her caller ID at this time of the day. "Hey love, what's up?" I asked, pausing my task of chopping vegetables for dinner. "Hey Mark, the car. It's acting weird," she said, her voice full of uncertainty. "Weird how?" I asked, frowning. "Our Honda was usually reliable." It's not starting, like, at all," she stuttered out. "Maybe it's the battery or something." "That's odd," I mused. "Did you see any warning lights on the dashboard before it died?" No lights," she was quick to answer, a bit too quick. "And where are you exactly?" I asked, a faint alarm bell ringing in my mind. "I'm somewhere. It's a driveway, I think. I had to pull over when the car started sputtering." "Sputtering? Did you get gas recently?" I asked, feeling the puzzle pieces slowly falling into place. "Well, yeah," she hesitated. "But I think there's something wrong with the car, you know? Maybe we should have gotten it serviced." A sinking feeling hit my stomach. "Sarah, what type of fuel did you put in the car?" She was silent for a moment. I just put fuel in it." "Well, I know that's Sarah, but what kind of fuel?" I questioned further, praying for an answer. "Well, I wanted to not have to fill up the car so much, so I got the expensive kind. It was green or whatever." A heavy silence fell over the line. "Sarah, the car uses every other type of gas but the green one. That's diesel, and now the car is probably totaled." "Right." Her voice was barely a whisper. "So, you'll come help?" "Stay where you are. I'll be right there," I responded, already slipping on my shoes. Our family car, a reliable Honda Accord, was not built for diesel. I knew right away we were in trouble. As I ended the call, I had no idea of the whirlwind that was about to follow. The lies, the betrayal, the truth, all set into motion by that single disastrous phone call. Pulling on my shoes, I grabbed the keys to my old Chevy, called a tow truck, and hit the road. When I arrived, I found our car, right in some stranger's driveway. The tow truck was already there, its operator looking grim as he surveyed the damage. Sarah stood by the car, her face pale, not meeting my gaze. As I approached our broken-down Honda, Sarah was already near the car, attempting a facade of calm. Yet I noticed her shooting nervous glances towards the back seat. When I moved to open the back door, she intercepted me with an unusually high-pitched, "I'll get the back." Sarah was never one for manual work. She was the type to delegate, to oversee. It was unusual to see her offer to do the dirty work, but I thought little of it. She rushed to the back seat, blocking my view as she rummaged around. After a couple of minutes, I started to wonder what was taking her so long. She had always been efficient, but this was slow, even for her. I watched as she took out a couple of bags, taking her sweet time. The whole thing felt off. Eventually, the warning signs became too numerous to ignore. My gut was shouting at me that something was wrong. She was still at the back seat, now hardly moving. The car barely any emptier than before. I walked over, standing tall and serious. "Sarah, what's going on?" She didn't answer at first, frozen in place like a deer caught in headlights. As I approached, I noticed movement in the back seat. A shirt shifted, and for a moment I thought I was imagining things. The situation was already a mess, but then it veered into the absurd. Sarah had quickly ran in front of me to the back seat. Her face strained. She muttered something about making one trip. I was about to step forward and help, when she bent down and wrapped her arms around the pile, attempting to lift it. "Sarah, that's too much, let me—" I began, but was cut off by an unexpected commotion. As she lifted the pile, it moved. Startled, she let out a scream, and the pile dropped to the concrete. "Ow! What in the goddamn fucking shit?" A scream came from within the pile of clothes. There was a moment of stunned silence before Ricky's head popped out from the fallen heap of clothes. He looked as surprised as we all felt. His appearance was like a punchline to an elaborate, cruel joke. "Ricky," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "what were you doing in my car?" He looked down, stammering some incoherent excuse, trying to cover up the obvious. I cut him off mid-sentence. "I'm not interested in whatever bullshit story you've got ready. Just get out." He looked sheepish, stood up, buttoned his jeans, and walked away, his shoulders slumped. The adrenaline of anger and disappointment coursing through my veins replaced any notion of confusion I had before. I turned my attention back to the car and started helping Sarah retrieve her belongings. The silence between us was heavy, punctuated only by the grunt of the tow truck operator and the occasional passing car. I couldn't look at her, not yet. Once everything was sorted, I got back into my Chevy. Sarah climbed into the passenger seat, staring blankly ahead. We drove in silence for what felt like an eternity until I finally pulled into her parents' driveway. I hadn't planned to do this, but my gut was telling me it was the right thing. "Sarah," I said, my voice echoing in the quiet car, "I think it's best if you stay here for a while." She looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. I couldn't bring myself to say more. She nodded, quietly got out of the car, and walked towards her childhood home. I watched her go, my heart heavy in my chest. I took a deep breath, started the car, and headed home. Alone. The next day I rented a U-Haul and began packing up her things. It felt surreal, like I was in a dream. Or maybe it was a nightmare. The only thing that seemed real was the sting of betrayal. A sharp reminder that the woman I thought I knew was a stranger. Her mistake with the diesel fuel had uncovered a secret that might have remained hidden. Ironic, isn't it? I never thought I'd be grateful for such a screw-up. But that day, I was. That day, I learned the truth. Sometimes the things we fear can be a blessing in disguise. That day, my wife put diesel in our car, a seemingly disastrous mistake. But it led to a revelation I never saw coming. As much as it hurt, I was glad she did. Sometimes the truth is a hard pill to swallow, but it's always better than living a lie. Update. As they say, the plot thickens. Our story didn't end with Sarah's departure from our shared home. No, the aftermath was a legal battlefield, and I found myself in the trenches. Our first court appearance was a nightmare. Sarah, in an act of desperation, claimed I'd hit her. The accusation was a low blow, a cheap shot that left me stunned. Fortunately, I had alibis, and a lack of any evidence on her part quickly exposed her lie. After that failed attempt, I decided to up the ante. I had been brooding over an idea, a hunch that had begun to grow into a conviction. I suspected that Sarah had put diesel in the car on purpose, a purpose I couldn't fathom at the time. My lawyer thought I was crazy at first. After all, it was a big leap to make. But as I pieced together the events, the hurried phone call, her reluctance to let me see the back seat, the presence of my cousin, a picture started to form. We argued that Sarah's actions were calculated. The diesel, the breakdown, they were all part of an elaborate scheme designed to cause chaos and divert attention. My legal team presented phone records, gas station CCTV footage, even Ricky testified, all to support our theory. The trial felt endless, a back and forth of arguments, counter-arguments, and cross-examinations. But in the end, the judge ruled in my favor. The evidence against Sarah was too compelling to ignore. With the divorce finalized and all the legal wrangling behind me, I got our old car back. The Honda, once a symbol of a life I thought I knew, was returned, still smelling faintly of diesel. It took a good amount of work and cash, but I was able to get her purring again. It's been a tumultuous journey, filled with hurt and deception, but it's also been a journey of discovery and growth. Today, I look back and I can't help but feel grateful. Grateful for the truth, painful as it was, and grateful for the diesel fuel that brought it all to light. As the saying goes, the truth always comes out in the wash. In my case, it came out in a cloud of diesel fumes. Talk about a diesel-fueled drama. Never thought I'd see the day when a wrong choice at the pump turns into an episode of Cheaters. All that's missing is a dramatic voiceover and some street sounds behind it. Wait a second. Anyway, what do you think? When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.